often say that life is our longest, shortest experience, and it's true. Nothing will last as long as our lifetime. And yet, as we move through time and space and get older, and I'm now just days away from my 51st year, we begin to think about time differently, about how life can pass by in seemingly a blink, and how we're wanting to spend the time that we have. Often we are raised or conditioned in society to pursue stability, wealth, to get an education, to have access, to climb the ladder, to do all of those things in order to be someone. I'm rethinking that. And it's better late than never, because even though it's at this point in my life where I'm approaching my 51st year, the reality is things show up in the moment that they show up. And I'm beginning to think about the time that I have left and how I want to spend it. And to take it a step further, I'm thinking about people who are young and just now embarking, right? Just now considering school and thinking about a profession and looking for stability. And what I want to say is highlight and underscore time. How might you create a life that's fulfilling and abundant and rich by your definition, and that gives you a lot of time and spaciousness? Because again, it is our longest, shortest experience, and many of us spend the majority of our time working. We spend the majority of our time aiming at stability, success, acquiring, accumulating, only to sit back on the rocking chair and go, none of that matters the most. What matters the most is the time, the spaciousness of time, and how it allows us the opportunity, the great opportunity to connect, to sit in conversation with others, to share our vulnerabilities, to be available for inspiration, to create. Unfortunately, that's not something that's celebrated, really. That's not something that is cultivated early on. It's all about make sure you have your ducks in a row in order to be okay in life. And so many of us have our ducks in a row. And although we're okay in life, we're still like, there's more to it than having one's ducks in a row. We need to be able to look out at the expanse and twirl under the light and energy of the sun, having time to celebrate, having time to share, to reflect, and not always feel inclined to occupy ourselves with work. So I'm inviting us to rethink our priorities so that when we are at our latter years or even at the end of our lives, we can look back and say, that was time well spent. That I wasn't in the office 24 hours a day. That in my dreams, I wasn't thinking up the next day's work. That while I was on vacation, I did not live by my phone and laptop to keep the job afloat, but that I actually was present for myself and my family and my friends, my loved ones. I actually allowed my body to rest. I read a book cover to cover, several in fact. I spent my time spending the time well, loving well, being present in my life. This is something we really need to give more thought to. We give all of the thought to creating wealth and climbing that ladder, only to get to the top of the ladder and go, is this it? Or only to get to the top of the ladder and feel exhausted because there's more responsibility. Now we've accumulated so much that we feel trapped by it all. We have to keep climbing the ladder now. How do I get off the ladder when I've accumulated so many responsibilities? Oh no. We dig ourselves more deeply into the hole rather than just dangle our feet over it while leaning back in rest. We get to the top of that ladder and we kind of go, you know what? The view up here is nice, but I'd rather have my feet on the ground in motion in my life. I don't want to just look out at life happening, but I want to participate in my life happening and participate in a slower one that just feels more spacious and bountiful in its simplicity. I want to enjoy the ordinary. I do not need 5 Teslas, a lucid vehicle. I do not need a 15,000 square foot house where there's only the sound of my voice echoing throughout the walls, energy bouncing back and forth, and it's just me. No, I'll take the hammock and the sound of the ocean. I'll take days hiking, listening to the sounds of nature. I'll take the lazy Sundays where I sleep in a bit and enjoy my coffee on the patio. I will take the silence to the rumbling of the cars in motion heading to the office towards stability and accumulation. We have to start rethinking this. We get one life. How are we living it? How are we spending the time inside of this one life? And again, there isn't anything wrong with being in pursuit of, right? We all want to feel stable, secure. And you know, the interesting thing is in many ways it's an illusion, right? Because we could lose our jobs, we could become injured, we can take ill. Things change in a blink, like life passes in a blink. But you know, it's okay. There's nothing wrong with wanting a foundation. I think what happens is when we think that the foundation, the security, and the stability is the most important and that somehow it will bring us deep joy and happiness, that's where we go wrong. The deep joy and happiness comes from within, and a lot of times that requires our stillness and presence. How often are we still and present when we're in pursuit of the climb? You know, it's like I've climbed the ladder just to look out and find myself getting off of it. I've crossed the T's and dotted the I's only to now color outside of the lines. I've done all of the quote unquote right things only to now want to scoop it all up and toss it in the air and allow the wind to catch it, to throw caution to the wind. It happens with time. And not everyone will feel the same. You know, we're all different. Some people will have to learn their way into this moment. I had to walk my way into this moment, and some people know it right away. Wherever we are on the way of the path, may we be there fully with our eyes open so that we can assess what truly is true for us. And so I'm thinking about the ones embarking. And I hope that they are available to hear and receive all things, not just the pursuit of stability and having security, but to also catch wind of the message of spaciousness and freedom. That they look within themselves to find the truth of who they are and then cultivate that and allow that to be the thing they live well doing. What happens if we cultivate the gift in people and then they choose to live from the gift rather than the latter? I'm feeling the inspiration and momentum of that. And I want to invite us to hold that. How might I live from the truth of my gifts and dwell in the spaciousness of how it allows me to be?